Hello.
Hello, you motherfuckers!
That's so mean. What if like an old lady clicked on the episode and you just instantly
What if my
opened
mom
the
clicked on the episode? What if this is the first
Let's
episode my
see.
mom decides, oh, I'll check it out?
Let's see where my
Hi,
what my
mom.
child is doing on the internet. Fuck you.
Hi, mom.
Well, how like so if this is the first episode your mom is going to be watching, let's make it presentable for her. All right?
No,
Let's
she
talk
won't
about
watch. I won't let her.
let's talk about what's the most disgusting like a yeast infection? Like what's something disgusting we can talk about in like the first not even
That
minute. We're
time when
not
you
even a
poop.
minute. Ew.
You're gonna have to cut that out, but don't cut
we
it, bleep it.
we just now are a minute in. You gotta tone it. We just hit a minute.
We just hit a minute. Okay,
I'm
there's
going to
lots of
have to
bleeps
bleep
in
that.
the
I'm
first
gonna
minute.
have to bleep that. That was just genuinely disgusting and will get people to click off the video.
Yes. So you have to bleep it.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome back to the SqueekyDogCast. We have such sights to show you, and such sights are American politics that are funny, and maybe if we have time, very funny, um, very funny segment I have planned that I think will be a lot of
Your
fun.
segment.
But we have to get through the politics first. We have to eat our vegetables if we want to
We
get
have
to
to
the
get
fun.
through the. Oh,
Yeah.
we have to eat our vegetables. Give me the vegetables.
Well, I
I've been
mean,
following so much of the stuff. Like
first I just want
honestly,
to
I'm
ask.
in the source.
I just want to ask, how are you? How are
I
you?
am a bouncy ball bouncing off of every wall.
That's very fun. It's like a Dr. Seuss line. Well,
It's accurate.
yeah. I mean, it's cute. I'll say that.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so excited because later today, Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 will be streamed on my Twitch channel. So that's fun. I didn't. They came out yesterday, but I didn't have a chance to play them because I was working, so I couldn't stream. But I'm gonna be streaming tonight, and I'm so happy. I can't wait. I cannot wait. But other than that, though, I've been pretty good. Uh, so let's fucking get the politics out of the way. We have a funny one first, a funny story.
Okay.
So as you remember from last episode, from last week, we talked about how Elon was officially or unofficially stepping out of the Trump administration. Well, he was officially stepping out, but would he actually be controlling from the shadows? We didn't know. He stepped down publicly, and judging by his most recent tweets, you can assume that he is done with Trump. Because he posted this on Twitter. I'm sorry, but I can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know what you did wrong. You know it. We're not going to talk about the spending bill today because that'll kind of cause us to crash out. We're probably going to talk about that next week because that'll be when it either gets
The
passed or
spending
dropped.
bill, the thing that he unironically called the big beautiful
Yes,
ball.
that's the big beautiful bill. It's the worst thing he's
Suck
put
my
forward so
fucking
far. It
ass.
is, to put it simply, it is the worst thing he's put forward so far, and the worst part about it, which is the thing that'll cause me to crash out, and that's why I don't want to talk about today, is that states are not allowed to regulate AI for 10 years according to the bill. So yeah, if that bill gets passed, like the world is over. So I don't want to talk about that today. We'll talk about that next week. We'll probably make it a whole segment, like the whole focus of the video, because as of now, it has to be passed in the Senate. It hasn't been passed in the Senate yet. It's only been passed in the House. There was also Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about how she passed it without actually reading it, and then said that she doesn't support the bill, even though she fucking voted yes on it. But that's a whole other story. Elon Musk is not happy because the bill also doesn't codify a single one of the Doge cuts. So all the stuff
The
that
Doge
Elon
cuts were
did,
meaningless. It
yeah, the
was
Doge
all
cuts were
like
completely
smoke and
meaningless.
mirrors.
Yeah. So this bill doesn't codify anything he did. So he's really angry about that. And
Did
he's
he really
losing on
think
Twitter.
that he could buy? Let's just pause a moment here and give a real thought.
Mm-hmm.
He is the richest man on the planet. He does have a
Yes.
lot of sway with a lot of people because of what he can pull out of his pocket money-wise. But did he really, really think that just that would get him the power he wanted?
I think so. I think he didn't
Like,
realize that people need to actually like him, you know, and he can't
because
just be a
what's
miserable
that guy? What's that guy that's behind Trump? The one who's
Stephen
like the
Miller.
author of 2025. Stephen Miller. He's more powerful than
Yeah.
Elon.
There's rumor that either Scott Besson or Stephen Miller gave Elon a black eye because Elon was seen in the White House with a black eye. Because apparently there was an altercation between Elon and Scott Besson that Elon then shoved Scott Besson, I believe, is the Treasury guy. Let me just Google this real quick to fact check. I've seen him on talks. He's the former hedge fund manager. What is he? Acting director of the United States Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He's the Secretary of the Treasury. He's the Secretary of the Treasury. I believe he's gay, which is funny. So yeah, this is the Secretary of the Treasury. Him and Elon had a little spat, and either him or also people theorize that it was Stephen Miller that gave him a black eye. But yeah, no, like everyone hates him. Everyone fucking hates Elon. He's awful. He's so
Well,
annoying. And that's why
at
he got
least
kicked
people are
out.
catching up, huh?
Yeah. And he also put out this tweet, which is funny. Call your senator, call your congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. Kill the bill. It's so funny. It's
It's not
just
going to
so
work as
funny.
well for him now as it did before.
No, because he has no political ties anymore. He's burned his bridge with the Democrats back when he became a Republican like 2 years ago. Um, and since then, it's only gotten worse after he's just gone full Nazi posting on Twitter for literally like 2 years at this point. And now he's burning his bridge with the Republicans because everyone hates him and he is a whiny loser. So now he's like left on his own. He's gonna be fighting like basically the only people who are on Elon's corner now are gonna be tech bro fascists, Nazis, and like incel degenerates. Like that's the only people on Elon's side. He's like politically irrelevant now, except for his money. Like if he didn't have money, he'd basically disappear forever. Kind of like Vivek Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy was the other guy who was supposed to be in Doge.
Kwame is like still a person.
Yeah, no, he disappeared. He like completely like he made a big long tweet about how Americans aren't educated anymore, and then he like disappeared. Um,
Shutting down the education department is not going to help.
yeah. I actually forget what Ramaswamy said, but he was like Americans like they don't they watch too much TV. I actually want to pull it up. Um, final tweet. Why did he leave Doge? I think was it this? No, it wasn't this. I'm sure I could find it if I actually wanted to find it, I can find it, but I don't really feel like looking for it. Yeah, this article just kind of goes more into detail about what we're saying. It's really simple. It's just Elon's butthurt and he's making funny tweets, and I'm waiting for Trump to respond with like Elon is miserable, he's a loser, everyone hates him, nobody liked him. Nobody liked Elon, he just had the money.
So just coming full circle to what Elon was like before
Yeah.
he paid Trump all that money.
Yeah.
So all of this is just like done. Like the Elon arc is over.
The Elon arc of politics in America is over.
I don't think so. I'll be honest.
I
I'll
think
I'll, I'll
I
just
think
straight
I'll
up
say I'll
honestly, I
say this.
don't think that the
The
Elon
the
arc is
the
over.
Elon Trump arc is over.
The
Elon in
thing
the
is
White
that
House is over.
Elon in the White House is over, but this is now where Elon goes off and like does his training arc and comes back and you know
He comes back
runs for president of the
in the
United States in
NSDAP.
2032.
Ah,
Make America musky again.
ew, ew.
Make
Ah,
America musky again.
no, I think Elon is done with Trump, and Trump's done with
Yeah,
Elon. Like they're done.
they've tried to get along. Like
The
they've given
Trump,
it an
I
earnest
don't even think
effort
Trump tried to
now.
get along with him. I think that just like they tried to put on a
Yeah,
public
but Trump
face.
doesn't get along with people.
That's true. He gets along with people if they like build up his ego, if they like make him feel
Yeah,
good,
all you gotta do is like just be a
or they give him like a
Trump
big
speech
jet.
box. Just be a Trump speaker box and he'll like you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, that's a very quick story to get out of the way. We have another one here. This one kind of makes me laugh because of just how cooked we are as a country, of how stupid people are. Supreme Court makes it easier to claim reverse discrimination in employment in a case from Ohio. White racism is real. Reverse racism. A unanimous Supreme Court a unanimous Supreme Court made it easier Thursday to bring lawsuits over so-called reverse discrimination, siding with an Ohio woman who claimed she didn't get a job because she was demoted because she was straight. I didn't even read the article. I just read the headline. She was
Wait, did you
straight.
did you not know about the woman who got fired because she was straight?
She claims she didn't get a job. I knew about this woman. I didn't realize it was her. I didn't. Oh no, that's so funny. It is
I
justice
remember the
decision.
story from a while
Yeah,
ago
because it worked its way up to the
when it
Supreme
first
Court now.
started breaking. Yeah, it's keep getting
The
bigger.
justice's decision affects lawsuits in
So
20 states.
on its face, right? I want to before we dive deeper into this, on its face,
Yeah.
if you were aware of a story where somebody did get fired because they were straight, being that we are both neither of us part of the straight community,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts there?
I think like if someone was legitimately fired for being straight, that's not good. But that never happens. That never happens.
You can't say that though. Look, I'm not here to play
But like I
devil's
can
advocate on
though.
the
It
story.
never
I don't.
happens. I actually
It
think being fired for being white happens more.
okay. Yes, being fired for being white does happen, but
Being fired for being straight?
yes, it does
Never.
happen.
I think it's happened like
It
three
does
times
happen.
in the entirety of the human history. When has there ever been a queer business
Here's the
owner
thing.
who fired someone for being straight?
I think that it does happen, and here's my reasoning, right? Too many times, and this is not me trying to punch towards the left again, but too many times you have to admit there are people who are LGBT, trans, left leaning, left wing, who are unreasonable about shit.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Unreasonability
How many of
comes
those
from
people
all kinds of people.
how many of those people are employers? That's the
Just
thing.
think of like a gay coffee shop.
I mean, maybe I could see it
You see,
happening in like
it's not
LA or
just
San
big
Francisco,
business.
but like,
Yeah, like not just big businesses, but shit like this does happen. So, like, you know,
but I feel
I
like in
just
those
think this
instances they
story,
would have
this
fired you for any
woman,
reason.
the shit that I've heard from this story over like following it piece by piece over time is that this woman is just unreasonable. Like the woman was not fired because she was straight.
Yeah. Oh, if sure, if it made it
Like,
to the Supreme Court, like there's no way in hell this woman was actually fired for being straight. Let's be real. This is
but the
but
thing is
it's gonna be
the
this is gonna be
argument
abused. This decision is gonna be
the,
abused.
the argument isn't really even about like what they're arguing, as far as I last heard, was that LGBT people, right? LGBTQ, I have certain protections, which means that to prove that your workplace is discriminating against you has a lower bar for entry than if you were a white straight person.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a white straight normal normie and you want to claim discrimination against your work, like, it's actually harder for you.
Yeah.
And there are people who are arguing that that, by its very nature, is wrong and discriminatory on its face. So the
I agree with that. Yeah.
so they're basically saying the anti-discrimination laws are set up in such a way that they become discriminatory. And there is kind of a
There is a
point
truth
to
to
be
it.
made
There's a
there,
truth to that.
but
But the
there's a
thing,
balance as
yeah,
well.
because the thing is, if you make it so it's equal, you have equal opportunity to dismiss everyone. The thing is, it's just that like at the end of the day, you can't entirely solve bigotry with just implementing anti-discrimination laws because that's just like a way to keep it out of the workplace. That's not a way to like actually solve it. The way you solve it is with the education system and how you raise people and how you
There
organize
we
society.
go.
That's how you do it. You don't
So
do it to just organize the fucking anti-discrimination laws, which are I'm saying that those are good laws. You should have anti-discrimination laws. They're not going to end
what
bigotry.
what do you know about BEE in South Africa?
BEE. I think you've talked about it before, but I don't remember what the acronym is. Black Economic Empowerment.
So back in the 90s, when the ANC government first took over from the apartheid regime, one of the things that was a big inequality in the country was education.
Yeah.
Basically, if you were white and you grew up in apartheid, you got a premium, top tier education, even if you were poor as fuck. But if you weren't white, you got taught to like carry bricks. You know what I mean? Like you got taught the bare minimum to work for white people. That was the idea. Now, when
Yeah.
apartheid ended, you had all these people who didn't have access to proper education for more than a generation, multiple generations,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what they did was they said BEE, Black Economic Empowerment, right? We're going to help by saying, okay, if you're gonna have a business that's gonna get government grants or bailouts or stuff like that, your company needs to adhere to having like X amount of black people.
Right.
So, in a way, yes, you could point at this on its face and be like, this is somewhat discriminatory.
But
But
it's existing in a world that is just recovering from a massive
right.
discriminatory time period.
So here's where the problem fell apart. BEE was meant to be a plaster that was supposed to be pulled off when the education system was fixed.
Right.
But the education system never got fixed because we ended up with like really bad and corrupt government. So they've just kept BEE around. Like the
This is
person
so
in South
South
Africa who
African.
put
Oh my
together
god.
the person who put together the BEE paperwork, the person who like wrote down and codified this shit, right? Agreed that this was meant to be temporary and should have been over by now.
This is the most ANC thing you've ever told me. Oh my god. Like, here's the thing that was
Like in what
supposed to be
way?
a short term like relief after
Oh,
apartheid. Hey, by the way, guys, we still use it. We're still
yeah.
using it. Keep voting for ANC so you can remain in 1995. Oh my god.
But I mean, like that pretty much is it.
And
And
it's all
yeah,
done
I
because
think
of
that
corruption. Oh my god, so ANC.
and so many white people complain about BEE, right? In South
Right.
Africa. So many white people complain about this. But the truth of it is that this isn't even aimed at against white people because most times the sort of underlying societal racism in South Africa
Still there.
actually gets more white people jobs than black people.
Yeah. Yeah.
The underlying systematic racism is still there. That if you want somebody to be like the face of your business, you 9 times out of 10, they do hire white people.
Oh my god, there's a whole Wikipedia article for corruption in South Africa.
Oh, you don't want to dive down this?
Further reading.
We should look, if this ever does get a proper spotlight on the podcast, it'll probably be an episode.
It will be one of those Wikipedia heavy episodes. Uh,
Because it'll be you learning just how deep this rabbit hole goes. But yeah,
uh,
discrimination is dumb.
yeah, discrimination is dumb. And speaking of discrimination, Trump has announced another travel ban. So,
Okay, 90 countries.
so
Let's go.
in Trump's first administration, there was the Muslim travel ban, where basically every Muslim country. Oops, don't I have to? Why is my fucking OBS not giving me the goddamn streamer mode? That's so fucking annoying. Well, I gotta edit that out. Basically, during Trump's first administration, there was the Muslim travel ban, which uh, made it so that if you were coming from a Muslim country, you just couldn't. You could not come from a Muslim country. So like Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, all the all
South
the fucking.
Africa.
Was South Africa covered by the travel ban?
At one point we were
Uh,
in the
well,
first term.
yeah. So this new travel ban is less directed at one particular group and is more just whatever countries Trump has gotten mad at over the past couple of years and what countries America is mad at in general. So yeah, so we have the some but not all 12 countries also appeared on the list of banned countries in Trump's first term. So yeah, this is the new ban includes Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. And then heightened restrictions are being placed on Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela.
Most of those countries, even the rich people can't afford the goddamn plane ticket to your fucking
Yeah, I know.
country.
Nobody's really coming from the Republic of Congo or Eritrea or like Somalia. I mean, people. There's actually a lot of Somali Americans. Um, but there's a few on here that
Yeah, but
really
more like
strike me.
escaping Somalia, not like,
Yeah, the refugees.
traveling
Yeah,
for
yeah. I mean, a lot of these are countries that are basically banning any refugees from coming in. The one that strikes me the most is actually Haiti. Um, because there's a lot
It
of
does
Haitian
seem to be
Americans,
the
and
odd
that
one.
one, this one entirely comes from the election cycle with Springfield, Ohio, and the recent unrest in Haiti.
They're eating the
They're
dogs.
eating the dogs. Iran is another one that isn't surprising, but it's pretty big because Iran is a massive country with a lot of people who could and frequently come to America. So that's another big one, but it's also not surprising that he bans Iran, considering that they're posturing to invade Iran at literally every moment. Um, because of Israel and all that. I mean, Venezuela, restrictions on Venezuela make sense because of how much it talks about migrant gangs, Tren de Aragua. Cuba still is the target of American hatred, even though it hasn't done anything to America since the 60s. And even then, it didn't do anything to America in the 60s. Cuba's literally
Isn't
done nothing
Cuba
wrong.
just like in recent history? Isn't Cuba just kind of chill and you know
Cuba, Cuba,
like
especially in the
the
past
last thing
couple
I heard
years,
about Cuba is that they have a one of the best medical programs in
yes,
the world.
yes, it's actually very common for Central America. Costa Rica also has like one of the best medical coverages in the world and stuff. But Cuba has really good healthcare, as far as I know. And Cuba just kind of chills out. They've basically been all of the issues with Cuba can kind of be chalked up to America essentially blacklisting them from global trade. They've been embargoed since the 60s with only like a few short pauses on it, and they aren't allowed to do diplomacy with the US. They've basically just been cut off, and that's kind of crippled their economy because America was their biggest buyer for a lot of their exports, like sugar and stuff. So Cuba has kind of been stuck. But they've still been doing great. They like for example, a lot of their cars are just Soviet like 80s cars and they're still driving them around because you can't really buy American motor vehicles and stuff. And I mean, like you could buy like the more expensive European and Asian cars, but America is the one that would probably be best for Cuba because they're cheap. But Cuba's not allowed to buy American cars, so they just kind of use 80s like Ladas, whatever the hell that is. Those little fucking Russian
Lada.
cars. Ladas.
The Lada.
Lada.
Oh, I love the Lada.
Ladas are so cute.
Nah, it's a fucking hilarious car. If it is what I'm thinking of.
This
It
one?
is this thing.
Oh, I love it so much. This is the most like Russian vehicle ever to
Like
like uh
I'm not a car person, right? But back in the day I did watch like the classic Top Gear,
yeah.
and they would bring this thing on from time to
Yeah.
time and just like this is ridiculous. Who the fuck?
It's Russia, baby.
Even for like the 50s and 60s, like this is bad.
It's cute. It's cute. I like how
Would
it
you drive
pops.
a Lada?
Yes, I would. I would. It's
You would
cute.
not drive a Lada.
It's cute.
Do you know what you gotta do? You gotta drive a Lada around New Jersey.
I don't think I've ever seen a Lada in America. You just wouldn't
You would.
find this. You wouldn't find this. Actually, what's the logo for Lada? Maybe I have seen it. No, I have never seen this in my life. All right. Yeah. So,
Dumb choices, dumb choices.
Let's rank these
the countries.
countries. What's the best country
I
here?
think the one that actually does make sense if you really want to talk like global politics is Afghanistan, because aren't they still
Yeah,
run
they're still run
by?
by the Taliban.
So I'm gonna ask the dumb question here. But aside from being just like an extremist Islamic group in the mountains, is Afghanistan like doing anything to anybody else?
Um, no, they don't have any money to fund foreign terrorist organizations. Um, and they aren't at war with anyone. They're just basically killing their own people because of like fundamentalist death cult belief.
So they're
Is
just an
Taliban.
extreme
They're
theocratic society
they're
at this point.
they're basically just like any Central Asian extreme dictatorship, at this point. Like they fit alongside like Turkmenistan and shit.
Okay. But I
So
mean, it still makes sense. Your history with Afghanistan is real
yeah,
uncomfortable.
no, it's I feel like every country, every single
Strictly.
time a country gets involved with Afghanistan, it's just a sore spot on their history. The
I
UK and
mean,
the Russians.
wasn't Afghanistan the first country to beat Russia in a war in like centuries?
No, first country to beat Russia in a war. Russia beat itself in a war like 9 times. Also, Japan beat Russia in a war like a century ago, like before the Afghanistan war. Actually, the same century, like
But
50
like
years
I'm
ago.
talking about recent times,
No,
like
like
recent
the
times.
The Russo-Japanese War was like 1910s or 1900s. Like the Russo-Japan, yeah, this war here, 1904 to 1905, Japan won. So it wasn't like that recently. But Afghanistan is Russia's Vietnam. They basically got stuck
Oh
there throughout the
yeah,
entirety of the
that's yeah.
80s and crippled their economy, and then their empire collapsed. And the
To
Rush,
be
the
fair, there
Afghanistan's
was a
also.
Cold War thing. Let's all talk about the fact that we now know all the stuff's been like uh stuffed. We all know that the Americans were trading with the Afghanis.
Yeah, I mean, but also like Russia was doing what Russia always does and does colonialism to people on its border. So they were like fucking around, and it's Cold War shit. It's people fucking with other countries and then trying
Yeah,
to invade. So I mean,
but
America, it
that
is
to
America's
me
Vietnam.
is why Afghanistan is the way it is today. That shit that went down during the Cold
It
War
goes back to the British with
is the
Afghanistan
reason.
because the British were also
It
fucking around in
does
Afghanistan.
kind of,
But
but the
it
modern
really does
state
go down to
can be
Soviets.
directly tied to that because the Americans were funding Saddam, and then when Saddam turned around and said like "fuck you, American,"
I think you're getting
then
your timelines mixed up here. I did research on the Afghanistan funding with America for a paper I wrote back in my first semester. Um, and the American funding came in after Russia got involved. So Russia got involved because they had their own puppet government in Afghanistan, and then the puppet government got overthrown, and then America started funding not even the overthrowers. They started funding um the fucking what's it called, the freedom fight. I forget what their name was. They're credited at the end of Rocky 4, or not Rocky 4. What is it? Fucking Rambo 4, wherever the hell they're credited at the end of that. Um, yeah, no, the America started funding after the Civil War started and after Russia got involved. So it's not like Russia invaded because of the American involvement. Just like how America didn't get involved in Vietnam because of like Chinese funding to the North Vietnamese. America got involved because like France was like, our colony is gone. Wow.
Wait, what
Yeah.
the fuck did Togo do?
Nothing. I don't know why Togo is here.
Like,
Togo and Sierra
aren't they
Leone. I don't
just
know
an
why the fuck they're
island
here.
with like three
No,
people on it?
Togo is one
Isn't
of the ones in Western Africa, the mainland country.
This is West Africa. Which one am I thinking of?
Congo. This is
No,
Togo. You're thinking of like Tonga or something. This is Togo. Togo,
maybe.
and then Sierra Leone was right here. I don't know what Sierra Leone did. Burundi's down here somewhere. Where's Burundi's right here. I don't know why the fuck Burundi got blacklisted. Oh, we all know Chad.
Chad.
Myanmar's over here. That's Myanmar.
What the
Myanmar's in
fuck
the
did
middle.
Myanmar
They're in the middle
do?
of a huge civil war right now. Like massive civil war. Like incredibly massive civil war.
Okay. Laos?
Laos is right here. They make, I mean, I guess they make like a lot of heroin, but like, I guess probably
Who
that's why.
doesn't?
That's why they are.
That's how.
Yeah.
Isn't heroin how Afghanistan like funded a lot of stuff when the
Yeah.
Americans pulled out?
Yeah. Sudan. Sudan is funny because
Sweden.
oh no, they were gonna send prisoners to South Sudan. Why Sudan and no South Sudan? South Sudan is like unarguably a worse country. Eritrea, the North Korea of Africa. Makes
I
sense
know
that they got
nothing
banned.
about Eritrea.
Eritrea, I think saying the North Korea of Africa is the most apt description you can say about it. Um,
I'm going to need to look up some stuff about
yeah,
Eritrea
yeah,
because the only thing I know about Eritrea, right, is that Italy lost a war against them.
they lost the war against Ethiopia.
Yes,
They won a
around the
war
same
against
time they
Eritrea.
lost the war.
Well, no,
Did they win
Eritrea.
against Eritrea?
They won against Eritrea. Eritrea and Somalia were Italian colonies, and then they tried to invade Ethiopia, and Ethiopia beat them.
Can you
And then they
imagine
went
beating
back.
an Italian colony?
I know it's awful. And then the Italians came back with gas weapons and just gassed the Ethiopians, which was against the Geneva Conventions, and everyone got upset at Italy. And then when World War II started, the British advanced from like Kenya and Tanzania, and they took back Ethiopia, and the Ethiopian and South African troops, especially the South African troops, just slaughtered the Italians. They just like took back the colony in like 5 months, like all of this shit in 5 months, and it just was like a complete bloodbath for the Italians, and then they got fucked up here, and then yeah, but yeah, I don't know. We got Cuba. Everyone knows where Cuba is, of course. I don't even care about the rest of these. Equatorial Guinea,
These are nothing countries that nobody was like. There
Yemen
wasn't
makes sense.
large swathes of people going to fucking US from there anyway.
Yeah, I'm surprised South Africa wasn't on the list. Do you think that'll come soon? Do you think it'll be
Why?
banned? Maybe not because of the white South Africans.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's exactly why. Because he can't put South Africa on the list and then take South African refugees.
Yeah, he can't. He
Refugees.
can't just say like black South. Yeah,
Refugees. Jesus
refugees who have a
Christ.
multi-million-dollar home.
It's just, I told you, okay, so I'm not gonna get off topic here on it, but I told you I still wanted to watch that Piers Morgan with
Yes, yeah,
the South African
with Dan
stuff.
Quarter,
I got 5 minutes in, they were talking to,
Afroform.
no, like the first 5 minutes they were talking to, I think like Oscar Pistorius's dad,
Mm-hmm.
and he's talking about how like he's basically feeding Trump's narrative of terrible things happening in South Africa, right?
I mean, like
While he sits in his like 10-bedroom house, you can hear the dogs barking in the back. He's got his nice clothes on. Like the room he's in
it's
is
so
bigger than
funny
my
because
goddamn apartment.
it's
And I'm
like
just thinking, what the fuck are you talking about?
yes, my business is doing point five like point zero five like percent worse this month. That means it's white discrimination. I'm not making as much money as I once was making.
But that's the thing
Therefore,
is
white
like,
discrimination.
okay, just to give you an example, because I did just watch the first 5 minutes, right? Like Piers Morgan, who is unequivocally a prick, right? Like I'm not in Piers Morgan's corner on any fucking level of the imagination. But Piers Morgan comes out and he goes, okay, here's the numbers. You have this many murders in South Africa. Out of those murders, like 30% of that is farm murders. And out of that 30%, like 20% of that is white people.
Yeah.
Where's the genocide?
Yeah.
And you won't believe what this person's response was. Well, I don't know where you're getting those numbers. Like,
It's
like they
always
just
that.
refute
It's always
reality.
that.
It's
It's always that.
always just
That's what
like,
right wingers
hey,
do. That's
here's
what
a
they do.
bunch of evidence that disproves your point. It's like, but I don't believe your evidence. It's like, well,
We
then this whole
live
argument is moot.
we live in a post-truth world.
We do.
We
What do
don't
you
live.
think of the Oscar Pistorius thing?
He's Afroform, right?
No,
Oh, he's not.
he's he is our OJ. He is South Africa's OJ.
Oh, then I love him.
What do you mean you love
OJ's
him?
the funniest person ever because I don't know how the fuck he
So
got away with that.
so
I know
Oscar
how he got away with it.
Pistorius has no legs, right? He is a Paralympic
It's really
competitor. He was the world's
the
like
way you
biggest.
said that was so funny.
He's got no legs. You should pull up this motherfucker.
I will pull up
Take a look
Oscar
at him.
Pretorius
Pistorius.
Pistorius.
Yes.
Oscar Pistorius.
So
Oh,
in short,
Pistorius.
he was yes,
Oh, he's
Pistorius.
white.
He
Okay,
was
I don't.
a
Okay.
yes. Well, with a name like Pistorius.
Yeah, I should have. I was assuming he was like Afrikaans, but I was just making sure.
So there you can see him with his girlfriend, right?
Oh,
She's dead.
oh, he killed her.
He killed her. So what happened is apparently, according to the story, he thought somebody was breaking into their house. And he got up, he got his gun, and he thought they were in the bathroom. So he fired through the bathroom door, killing her.
That is such a funny image of just him on these like legs, just and then they just
But here's the thing, right? One of the things was, did he put on his legs before, after he shot? And there was a whole thing with the angle of the bullets, and if he was truly in fear, would he have taken the time to put on his legs? And
I know, right?
like,
Like,
but at the end of the day, it came down that he had shot and killed his supermodel. She was a supermodel, Reva
it's
Steenkamp.
always a supermodel. Is this him trying to
And
say like I could have walked without my legs or something?
like, I don't know what this is like. Did they try to get like a gauge of his height or what it is? Like, but yeah, he was our OJ. In fact, I think one of the lawyers defending him was OJ's lawyer.
Oh, I have to try. I have to see
Well, I
that.
know
I
that
have to
OJ.
see that.
I know OJ's lawyer did come to South Africa and had interviews with him about this case. Yeah.
Trial of Oscar Pistorius. Trial. No, I wanted to see trial. It's the defense. I guess I could Google. Oops.
So
Oscar Pistorius lawyers. Barry
very
Rue.
rude.
That's not one of the OJ lawyers.
No, I
Um,
think they just interviewed the OJ
the
lawyer.
OJ lawyers. One of them was Kim Kardashian's dad. Another was that one pedophile who
Yeah.
was Epstein's friend, and then was almost going to be defending Israel against South Africa's human rights case. And then there was a third one I forget the name of. But I know
But
it wasn't
yeah,
Barry Rue.
so that's the Oscar Pistorius case. So his dad was the first face on that interview thing,
That's so funny.
talking about how white people are treated poorly, while his rich white kid is actually like out of prison now.
Man, I love high profile murder cases where the verdict just upsets everyone and the guy just gets to walk. It's so funny, especially after it's so obvious. Well,
Well,
I guess
this guy
Oscar
didn't get
Pretorius
the
doesn't walk.
walk.
Hey, look at
Get fucked, Oscar.
the... he just went to the
Get
same
fucked,
place with the
Oscar.
joke.
Get fucking wrecked,
We
Oscar.
started the
No,
punchline at the
I
same
hate the guy.
time.
Because here's the thing, right? When during the course of the case, like obviously he was one of those beloved sports celebrities.
Yeah.
But during the course of the case, like shit came out, like oh, he was well known for like waving around his gun in public drunk. Like he was well known for beating the crap out of his girlfriend. Like all this shit started coming out. So you
Real
know what,
American.
Oscar? Get fucked,
Real
Oscar.
American. Uh,
So
anyway. But maybe his discrimination
next
was
story.
my son got like arrested, but like not actually. He didn't get charged. Next story, yeah. Um,
Next story. Give
good
it to
news
me.
on the war in Russia, the war in Ukraine. Ukraine managed to bomb facilities that were very far inland. Specifically, these facilities. Olenya up here
Olenia
in
Era.
Karelia, Ivano, which is
Wow.
far past Moscow, Diaghilevo, which is also past Moscow, and Belaya in Siberia.
All the way in fucking Eastern
Yes.
Russia. Jesus
So
Christ. Well done, Ukraine.
Ukraine bombed 4 facilities. I've heard it being described as Russia's biggest defeat of the war. So this whole article goes into how it was done. Apparently, Ukrainian trucks managed to get into the country or some shit and implement drones that then um,
I
bombed the
see.
facility.
This is kind
So
of brilliant.
this is Belaya here. This is the Air Force base that was so far out in Siberia or Irkutsk. I know this is because this is in Risk. It's
Irkutsk.
one of the Russian tiles in Risk. You have the truck carrying the drones
Irkutsk.
7 kilometers away. So the retractable
Presence
roof,
area when you need her.
the drones would something. I actually haven't gone through this that much. It looks like a cool article though. So you just have a bunch of drones that come out, and here's the drones dropping their bombs. Um, Flying back from the parked truck near Balea. There's the Balea being bombed. We'll go through this. I just want to see the photos, so you can see that there was planes laid out, and then they're just blown up now.
I
Um,
feel like this is something that, like, in 5 to 10 years, a movie will be made about.
Possibly, it's possible, Trace.
Like, this is a very
There's
cool,
gonna
like,
be so many
operation, I
movies
have to
about
admit.
Ukraine war. There's gonna be so many like movies about it.
I don't know necessarily, but this particularly just seems like a cool operation.
Yeah,
Like, you've got the planning phase, then you've got like the travel between the border and like your
yeah.
stopping spot.
Here's
Like, there's so
footage,
much here.
verified
Is
footage of a
that bad to
Ukrainian
say?
first-person drone. No, it's cool. They're just blowing up like planes. No one's dying in these. They're just parked planes. This is the cool kind of stuff in war where you get to like cripple the enemy without actually having to kill anyone. Um, you just hit their infrastructure. You hit their way of actually killing you. Like these bombers are gonna go out and like bomb a fuck ton of Ukrainian civilians. So like yeah, this is cool. Yeah,
You know, this does make me think though. It's 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 time where Ron Perlman is getting proven wrong, isn't he?
yeah. War is changing.
War is changing. War is changing. It's no longer just about like, okay, bomb their like train lines and they'll starve to death. This is
Well, that already
like
was
war
war
is
changing.
changing. I know, but like
I think the main point of war never changes is not so much the way war is done, but like what a war is, what happens in a war, the suffering, the
yeah,
death, the aftermath, the lead up. That never changes.
yeah, but like
But the way of
in
doing
this
war has always
sense,
changed.
the in this set, but it's changed. But we're now at one of those because when you look at military history, right?
Hmm.
Especially like go back to War for Independence.
You mean the American
Why
War?
did the Americans, yeah, why
Yeah.
did the Americans actually win?
It was because of a few key victories and the French support.
But also, if you look at their methods for war, the Americans weren't standing in a line on an open
Yeah, it was
field.
guerrilla warfare.
Americans came up with like guerrilla
It
warfare.
was essentially
Modern
the
guerrilla
Vietnam.
warfare was American.
It's
Yeah, it
actually
was.
very similar to Vietnam because Vietnam, America won most direct engagements with Vietnamese troops, but they weren't able to exactly get a proper victory that would lead to like a push in the campaign. Same thing for the British. The British won nearly every battle of the American Revolution, but they were never able to get like key leaders. They were never able to get any moral victory, like any like big morale victories or anything. They're never able to. They were able to capture big cities like New York, but they weren't ever able to like really push into like
It's
where the
one thing to
Americans.
capture. That's the thing, right? Like, it's one thing to capture and occupy the city and those
Yeah,
areas,
but they didn't get any leaders. They
but
didn't get anyone who was holding it together.
you only really have control once you take the countryside.
Yeah,
And
I
if you
mean,
can't
yeah,
take the countryside, like that's it. Like you're not going to get the people because
because
if
that's
people
where
don't
they'll
agree
live in
with
their
you in the
fucking.
city, they'll just go to the countryside.
I mean, that's kind of true, but mainly the reason why you want to get the whole country is that there's just that's where they operate now. That they're like gonna be bandits in the hills and shit. That's basically what happened in
Yeah,
Afghanistan too. We were holding like the big cities, but then you had like the Afghanistan like Taliban guys just out in the mountains and shit, and then they would like
yeah,
organize them out there, and it's like hard to get them out there. Same thing for Vietnam and the jungles and stuff. Like you can get the big cities, but once you're in the cities, they're not going to operate in the cities anymore. They're going to operate out in the wilderness where you can't easily get them. Um, and that's basically the American Civil War was like a or not Civil War, the American Revolution, War of Independence was was a guerrilla war that was fought by against a colonial government that was just getting too bogged down over there, right?
yeah.
It
But I
went on for
mean,
so
like
long, like
that's one of the
12
great
years.
moments of change in war. You got the big change between like if you just compare how like take World War One and World War Two,
Yeah.
how massively different with those wars fought.
Yeah, like cause, and also World War One compared to what came before. Like the first year of World War One saw like millions of people die because they were still it was still a mix between the new like the new machinery, the new weapons against old
Trench
tactics.
warfare.
Yeah, no trench warfare came a little later because initially it was still people walking in lines against machine gun fire. It was people on
Yeah,
horseback with their trumpets and drummer boys against mortar shells and howitzer cannons and like
yeah. And
fucking
then it evolved into
flamethrowers.
the sort of trench
And then you get
warfare
trench
with like
warfare.
no man's land.
And then tanks
But
get
then World
created to
War
cross the no
Two,
man's land.
World War Two basically got rid of trench warfare almost immediately. Like trench warfare didn't last
Trench
long.
warfare, as soon as World War One ended, every single like military doctrine revised their like way of going about war to remove the doctrine of holding your ground no matter what, because it had led to the stalemate of trench warfare that lasted like just so long of no progress at all. So World War Two was a lot of like shock and awe, blitz fast, go hard, go fast, hit strategic points, like a lot more of like an actual war rather than World War One's. Let's go this way. Oh, never mind. Now we're stuck in a trench over here now. Like it was also just a familiarity with the
I think a
technology that
lot of it
necessitated
also
World War
had
Two.
to do with like the people who were fighting and actually did survive World War One were
They knew,
now
yeah.
like higher officers in
They
World
were
War Two, and they
officers.
were
They
like,
were
"Listen,
generals.
trench warfare sucks.
Yeah,
Trench
it
warfare
was also
sucks.
familiarity with
We know
technology.
it."
People were more familiar with how to implement tanks and planes into a military. Air forces had become a proper like a proper thing. They weren't just like guys with binoculars and a pistol shooting out their window and then dropping grenades over the trenches, because that's what the Air Force was in World War One. It was people
Yeah, it was
in like
essentially
propeller
just
planes with
like machine
pistols.
guns, like strapped
Yeah, machine guns
to the
strapped
bottom of
to
a
the yeah, to the plane. Or
What was the name of the plane? Oh, Sop with Camel.
what?
Swap with Camel.
I have
There
no
was
idea what you're talking about.
the old World War One plane that was.
The Red Baron? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Some
I think
fucking
it's yeah. This is the Sup with Camel.
oh, this thing. Oh, Sop
It's
with
basically
Camel.
cardboard.
Yeah, no,
It's basically
it's wood.
cardboard.
It's like wood and plywood fucking held together, lightweight as hell. And basically, yeah, some guy would sit in this with a pistol and a couple grenades, and then like fly over
No,
enemy
like
trenches.
yeah, there you can see the
Oh
machine
yeah, no,
gun
the
like mounted on the front.
machine guns were later though. Machine guns were like a late addition to the war. Originally, for the first couple years, it was binoculars and pistols.
Yeah,
The
but
first
this
air
was
kill was a
Air
guy with a
Force.
pistol.
This
Yeah, yeah, this was your Air
like this
Force.
was the F-15 of the day.
Yeah, this was the elite Air Force of the day, and they have like a bucket of grenades. Yeah, and then and by World War II, you have like not jet fighters yet, but you do have like propeller fighter, like more like fighters with steel, and they would dive bomb and shit, and you get like tactical bombers like B-25s or the fuck B-15s or not B-20
Yeah, like
B-15s. Yeah, yeah
these. This is what we know. Okay, these are all
Spitfires,
German ones.
Junkers, Messerschmitts.
Spitfires. These,
Yeah,
I'm not
Zeros.
like a war person, a military person, or a gear person, but these planes kind of cool though.
They are pretty cool. I just like old planes are really
Like,
cool. I'm kind of a plane
like,
person.
like I do kind of think like in the modern day, you get those like air shows where like these things
They're
don't
so
have
I've been to an
guns,
air
they
show.
fly around, and
Air shows are so
we
cool.
don't really have those here.
There's
Because
a
I
huge
mean,
New
what the
Jersey,
fuck is that
Central.
thing?
That's like a I think that's American plane because I could see by the insignia there. I don't remember what plane that is though. You could probably like click on the link and maybe it'll bring you to where it is. We can go on a little stun lock of planes if you want. World War II planes.
Oh, this
The
is the Black
Northrop,
Widow.
the Northrop 961.
I've heard of this thing. Fuck off ads.
That's cool.
But
Do you know about
this was a bomber,
the
right?
Night Witches?
No.
They were the Russian all-women air force that flew like crop dusters with no modern equipment over Stalingrad and they over the night, and they would just bomb the Germans, and the Germans called them Night Witches.
That's awesome.
You can
I
Google
want to
it. You can
read
see what
more
they were.
about
You can
that.
Google it real quick. Like Google Soviet all women air force. I can probably pull it up. There was a Sabaton song about it. That's how I know it. um, they just flew like refitted crop dusters and shit. Yeah.
This is fucking epic.
Yeah. They flew. They were the main bombing force of Stalingrad during the night. That's by Garth Ennis. What? Hold on, wait. Garth Ennis wrote something about the Night Witches. That's the guy who wrote Preacher and the Boys. That's
Well,
cool.
but this is fucking epic. You're gonna have me like Russia hold, yeah.
The Soviet Union in World War II is super interesting. They had it's the army that had the most amount of women on the front line, most because it was like the Great Patriotic War, is what they call it. And
Not
they
only that, like anything with a beating heart, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's just anybody get up and go fight. We need to get these Nazis off our land. Was essentially the mindset. So a lot of like fucking
Also,
Russian
by the way,
farm
you
women.
don't have food, guns, or ammunition. Good luck, have fun.
Yeah, you guys know, you guys want to know where your food is? The Germans have it. Go get them. Go get the food. Um yeah,
Look, the Germans brought food.
the Germans, they brought food. Yes. There's a
That
lot
is
of
so
stuff.
grim.
They
There is nothing in because there is nothing in my mind more like horrifying than just how much Russia did to its own people during like
the
between
Stalin years.
1900 and 1960.
Yeah, the Stalin years,
Like
especially like
like 60
the 30s
years.
to his death of Stalin in like the 50s. That time
But even
period was
like
awful.
the end of the Russian royal family, right? Like
Yeah.
even towards their end, like all of that period, those 60 years of Russian history are just absolutely balls to the wall crazy.
Here's the black pill. It goes back another 100 years before that of the suffering. Like I
I
don't
mean,
think
you're
you
not wrong.
understand. Like there was like on the day of Nicholas II's coronation, there was a massive like military slaughtering of civilians that were in the streets, and he was just partying. It's shit like that is just all over Russian history.
Like,
Um, yeah.
what is it though? Like,
It's
not
it's
not to be funny, but what is it?
it's um it's a lot of things. It's the fact that Russia's so big is a part of it. It's unironically the weather. It's always cold and
I mean, the
disgusting.
weather, I do think weather
It's hard
plays a
conditions.
lot into cultural psychology, but there's something very specific about like the way Russia goes about itself
It's
sometimes where
kind of
like like you
it's
say it's big, but what about it being big makes it like
they're
that?
spread
Like, is
out.
it
Their
just like
cult communities are
apathy?
very it's you see it in America
Is it like
sometimes, but
apathy?
it's kind of a disconnected culture. Everyone is so far from each other. It's a very spread out culture, very similar to America, like how rural people and people in the suburbs are just so vicious and vile people because they're spread out, they're not together. And that's true with Russia because it's more of a broader sense. But it's also just that Russia hasn't ever really had a history of like democraticness. There's no democratic movements really in Russia. It's never had that, so it's just always been in this pit of authoritarianism. Same thing for China, really. China and Russia have always just been in this pit of like authoritarianism with only
The
brief
thing is that
respites of
I can sort of like pass, at
yeah,
least myself, the connection between ancient Chinese sort of tradition and culture to today, right?
right.
Like when you go into China's history and you go back, whether you go back 100, 500, or 1,000 years, it's all very familiar. if you
Yeah,
get my meaning.
it's a lot of
Like
very similar
the
trends.
way
It's a lot of
Russia sort of,
dynasties
yeah,
being brought up and then falling apart.
yeah. So like we're in what would historically be considered a dynasty now, but like at some point, Russia just, no, not Russia, China has the tendency to just split and then build
Yeah.
itself again. Like
Yeah.
it just, but Russia, like I don't like you go back far enough, Russia's barely a concept.
Yeah, Russia's incredibly new. I've talked about it before to you when we've played CK3, but Russia is a mix of like steppe cultures, like Ukrainians and the Scythians and all them, and like a lot of the Turks, and it's a mix of Scandinavian Vikings and Eastern European Poles and stuff, and then a mix of the Mongolians when they came in. It's a mix of all these cultures with its own identity that was very prominent and very built up in the region of the places these people were conquering. It's like the local culture mixed with all these other cultures to various extents, especially when you go more towards the border regions. So Russia's also incredibly ethnically diverse. There's so many people living in Russia who aren't Russian. Even like during the Soviet Union, you had Ukrainians, Finns, some Poles, Belarusians, Chechens, Georgians, Azerbaijanians, all the different people from the Stan countries in Central Europe, like Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, not Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, stuff like that. You have so many, and then also different Siberian groups that aren't Russian; they're Siberian. Just so many people in Russia that there's a lot of cultural discohesion, people going after their own like cultural interests and stuff. It's just very,
What's
it's a
it?
mess. It's a mess.
CK3. CK3 starts 867, right?
Yeah,
And Russia does not
doesn't
exist.
exist.
But
No,
there
Russia
is
didn't
a
exist until like the hundreds.
there's a slight Russian culture that has emerged in the area by then,
Yeah, and
but
that
there
makes sense.
is no
That's the culture that would then be
Russia.
influenced by everyone around it.
Yes.
Yeah,
But if you look at de jure Russia in
it's only like St.
867,
Petersburg to like Moscow.
it's smaller. It's one of the smallest empires on the map.
Yeah, and it makes sense because Russia until like Peter the Second, Peter the Great, whatever the fuck, was nothing. Russia was so insignificant. Like it had a lot of land around there and there, but it was really kind of nothing. It wasn't until, I mean, there was a couple czars before him who were like really big conquerors and stuff, and they took a bunch of land up. But it wasn't until Peter that Russia became a notable country that people actually fucking respected. And because he's the one who built St. Petersburg, he's the one that started the colonization of Siberia. He toured all around Europe and made friends with all the different emperors and stuff. So Russia is just kind of, it's a very recent country. It's honestly a lot similar to America than a lot of other European countries because America is also a very new country. Russia's just older than
Yeah,
America, but it's
because
still
like
very new.
because places like France, and even if you like want to take into consideration like Aquitaine was still like French.
Yeah. Yeah, like the French,
Like
France is old. France is an old country.
yeah, you got
England is an old country. But like
like Germany as well.
Germany's old, but Germany's also new in the sense that like it united, it's
I
new.
guess
But
because
German culture is old.
look,
The
I'm
German
no like
identity.
professional at this, right? But as far as I understand, a lot of German culture at the time was more influenced by the Prussians,
Yeah, the Germans before the unification of Germany were very dominated by Austrians and Prussians. Um,
like Bavarians and
yeah,
such.
Bavarian, South Germans like Austrians and stuff were had a lot of influence over like Austria and like Baden and places over there and there.
When Austro-Hungary was one of the great
Well, not
powers
Austria-Hungary.
of
Austria-Hungary would be later. That happened
yeah,
after the German unification. But yeah, Austria, the Habsburgs, when they ruled Europe.
the Habsburg.
Um,
That's
yeah,
that's
that
the
was when
word
Germany was a
time.
bunch of different states and stuff. It was Prussians and Brandenburg Prussia specifically. Brandenburg being the portion that was inside of the Holy Roman Empire, and Prussia was outside of the Holy Roman Empire. Um,
Don't
the
you just love the HRE?
It's just so good. It's yeah, no. So Brandenburg Prussia was the other big force. That was Frederick the Great and stuff. That's where Berlin was. It was in Brandenburg.
Berlin.
And that's the other side of German. of Germany that was a big cultural influence. And then like Hanover had like the British something, and I guess there's something there. I don't really know. I don't really know that much about German history. My knowledge is very
I guess like
I know
I
that
just
like
have an affinity
after
for hearing
Napoleon.
it because I think I have passingly mentioned it on the podcast, but like where I was places like Salzburg,
Yeah, you've
like
been
the
to
actual
Austria.
castle, like the actual castle in Salzburg, the one that you ostensibly sit in if you play as Salzburg in CK3. Like I've physically been to that castle. There's something very cool about that.
Yeah, it's cool. It is cool.
And what's it? Vienne?
Wien, yeah, or
Vienna?
Vienna, Wien. Yeah,
So like it's amazing to see the actual history there.
yeah. German history is super interesting. I need to read more about it. I probably should get a book on it or something. Some book focus. I mean, I have a book about the revolutions of 1848 that'll definitely touch on it a bit. I just haven't gotten around to
Because
reading it.
what people don't realize is that like we always talk about how horrible World War II was, and yes, there was like undeniably, but like what I've found is most everyday casual people don't know what caused World War One, and that Germany wasn't actually like completely the bad
That's
guy there.
very true outside of Europe. That nobody knows what causes World War One, like the average person. That's very true outside of Europe. In America, I think
I
that
mean, I
like
live in South Africa, so nobody here knows fucking
yeah.
either.
Yeah, no, like I feel like Europeans, World War One is super important to European history because it basically was the death knell to like the age of imperialism. That's when it started to die out. Was then. So like a lot of the countries are going to focus on it. A lot of people died in World War One. It's very big, important to European history, but to America, not really. America was in it for a year, and South Africa was like barely involved, only as a colony. So like I see why in
Yeah.
our countries it doesn't get talked about. Like in America, people just think it was Germany attacked, and then
But then to get
Brits.
like history brain, I do want to get your opinion. If you do know enough about it to like confidently have an opinion, but what do
Tell me.
you think of the Treaty of Versailles?
All right, so the Treaty of Versailles stipulated a lot of things. I think it is hard. It is a very punitive treaty. It's the
It's
least
mean.
punitive.
It's actually mean.
It's the least punitive of the ones that were handed out because the other two, the one dictated especially at the Austrians, divided their entire empire up. Austria died. The Habsburgs were gone. Austria was dismantled into a fucking like 15
I
countries
guess nobody I guess nobody talks about
because nobody gives a
what you're
fuck about
telling me
Austria.
is I like Austria.
Yeah, but like
But I
nobody
guess like
gives a
I
fuck
view a
about
lot of
Austria.
my but I view a lot of my Austrian history through what they teach of German history, right? Like
Yeah.
the rest of the international
Um
world.
yeah, and then Turkey or the Ottoman Empire also got dismantled and became Turkey, and then they got rebuilt up at later date by Ataturk, Mustafa Kemal. Um But yeah, Germany, the Treaty of Versailles, it demilitarized their border region with France. It made it so they couldn't hold a certain amount of troops in their army, and it got rid of a lot of their land.
Reparations.
And there was a lot of reparations that caused,
A
well,
lot.
it in
Here's the thing,
part it
Riley.
caused the
A
inflation,
lot of
a lot of
reparations.
reparations. It was in a
A
lot of ways,
lot.
it was the Western European countries just really, really spiteful and vindictive because a lot of them saw Germany as the reason for causing the war because
Because
Germany and the UK had a huge arms escalation, arms race, a naval arms race for like 20 years. There was colonization competition. The British saw the Germans as the greatest threat in Europe. So I think the British government really wanted to push punishment against the Germans. But at
but
the
I
same
have a theory,
time,
and you can
the
tell me if I'm
Nazis
wrong
are
about the
wrong about Versailles.
history.
Yes, tell me.
If the Treaty of Versailles were far less spiteful, I don't think that the Nazis would have gotten the foothold they did
No,
as quickly as
no.
they did.
That's where the
Like
myth comes in.
maybe they would have been an AF, they still would have been an
No.
AFD like sort of thing there, but like the Nazis would never
The
have been
Nazis
able to
the
drive their propaganda.
Nazis got their power not through the details of Versailles, but that the fact that Germany lost. That was the
I
real
think
basis of
Look,
Nazi support. It was the idea
it's
that
that's why I say
the leftists sold us out. The
there
Jews
still
sold
would
us
have
out.
been that, but without the punitive measures of
No, because
Versailles,
I'll tell you this.
I don't think they would have been able to push their propaganda the way they
I'll
did,
tell
because
you
that's
this.
what one
The reason
the
why Germany went through that horrible inflation during the Weimar period was because of the inabilities of the liberal government in combination with Treaty of Versailles. The country still would have been incredibly susceptible to that inflation with less strict circumstances. The only way the Nazis couldn't have come around and were relating to the Treaty of Versailles, like with the Treaty of Versailles, is if there was no Treaty of Versailles, or if the conditions were give up some land, right? Like if it was that, the Nazis probably wouldn't have come around. But if there was any sort of reparations to be paid, which makes sense for a treaty, even the lightest version of the Treaty of Versailles would include reparations. That's like in every war treaty ever. Um,
Yeah, but
the
not punitive,
reparations
not to the point of bankrupting the country for
the
the
bankrupting came from the
foreseeable
inability for
future.
the government to manage the
It was
reparations
a
in combination.
combination of
Yeah,
factors. You can't
I
minimize the
don't
factor that I'm
think
talking about.
but
I
I know, but
I'm
the
not
thing the reason
disputing
why
your
the
factor, but
reason why I'm pushing it
I'm
back on it so much is that it's a lot. What you're saying, I assume unknowingly, is what a lot of Nazis say, that it's the Western countries' fault
I
for the
do very much
Germans turning
imagine
Nazis.
that, look, the Nazi apologia is obviously something they're gonna do, but I do believe that, like, it's the Afghanistan thing, right? Would they be as extreme today if foreign powers didn't keep coming in and fucking their shit
No,
up?
they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
So it's more like,
It is
I'm
along that
not trying
argument.
to I'm not trying to give apologia to the people who turned bad. Those people, a lot of them would still exist regardless. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that they wouldn't have been able to pull everybody else into their line of thinking if we just like fucking didn't do some shit
I do
sometimes.
get what you're
And the
saying, like,
punitive measures, like while the rest of the world, because we all know like after World War One was like the Great Depression, right?
yes.
When the rest of the world was going through the Great Depression, Germany was looking at shit like Zimbabwe would even be fucking blushing.
Yeah, they had
Like,
wheelbarrows of
Germany
money.
was a hole in the ground for 10 fucking years.
Not
Of
10 years, it
course,
was
they
like
would take.
4.
No, it was like four, but like shit was bad enough there, at least for those people, that the Nazis were able to say, like, hey, this is reasonable. And I hate the Nazis. So even like the very beginnings, the roots, the seeds, like I hate the fact that those were planted in the first place.
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to. So like I do see very much, I agree, how on its face it can sound like an argument that any Nazi apologist would give, but at the end of the day, it's that I wanted less Nazis to exist in the first place.
Yeah. I still think that it played the Treaty of Versailles definitely played a role, but it wasn't the most important thing to the Nazis rising to power. I think that I mean they would have it would have taken them longer, but I still think that as long as Germany loses World War One, there will be a rightward movement in the country, and if not addressed, which controlling for all other factors it won't be addressed, they will come to power. It probably won't look the same, but they would still come to power. There would still be a right wing shift,
Because
a fascist
because
shift in the country, I think.
remember the social politics of the time, like a lot of their propaganda was aimed at Germany is a shithole, let's blame someone. Oh, right, the Jews, right? When it wasn't, where the country was kind of a shithole,
Yeah.
kind of not all because of their own fault, and they did have someone to blame, but it wasn't Jewish people. It was the punitive measures taken against it for a war that it got ostensibly fucking dragged into.
The propaganda you're talking about there, that's the stab in the back myth. The stab in the back myth originally was Germans at large, not like just Nazis, blaming communists and leftists. And then once people were on board with that being the narrative, they started changing it to being Jews, that the Jewish communists were the ones who were stabbing them in the back. So they all believed that it wasn't just the Western Europeans, but it was Germans themselves who were betraying Germany for like the Treaty of Versailles. And it's like those types of stuff is why I'm like thinking it would still come around, because they weren't just pointing at the Western Europeans, they thought that the Germans themselves, like German traders, caused Germany to lose World War II, and German traders caused the devastation of the economy. The German traders caused all that stuff. So they still would be, they would point fingers not just at Western Europe, but they were also pointing fingers at like who they blamed, like Jewish communists fucking controlling the country, like Jewish communist bankers or whatever the fuck. It's
Fucking
a whole
idiots.
complex thing.
It
Um,
is. It's a horrible history of time for humanity, honestly. But there's just so many factors. And look, people talk about all the big ones, right? But there is something to be said for minimizing the minutia of it. There, take away more of what gave them their power in the first place. Is
yeah, I mean, there's definitely some truth to that.
it's just yeah, the human history gets ugly. It's starting to yeah.
All right, yeah, no, the World War II discussion really takes a lot out of you. Uh,
Yeah,
well,
fuck Nazis. No.
yeah,
I
no,
just
fuck
have to say,
Nazis.
I have to, like, if we're gonna talk World War II, I will unequivocally just have to add fuck Nazis and everything that they stand
Yeah,
for.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I need to read more about German history. Like I have some books that I need to get around to reading a lot of my books. I'm just so slow at reading. A lot of it's because I just want to sit on my computer and like be on call with people, and it's easier to read comics while doing that because they're just easier to
There's a
read.
visual
There's a
medium.
visual medium to it. They're easier to read. They're not um as like because when you read a book, you need to like picture everything in your head, and you need to. I get
Yeah,
distracted really easily. So it's hard for me to read a lot of the time, but I do want to try reading before bed. But also before bed is when I'm like on my computer. It's like really the only time some days that I'm actually able to play a game or be on call with people is like at night. So I normally don't read before bed. I have to get better mood of it. But there's a
yeah. I
bunch of
also
books
gotta
I have.
fix my schedule. I
Yeah.
guess that'll be our homework. Everybody fix your schedules.
Yeah. I mean,
Peter
not even
Jordison
it's not
has
even
has
schedule.
has proclaimed. Peter
It's
Jordison says,
for
"Fix your
me, it's not even
schedule."
schedule fixing. It's just making myself read when I have nothing to do. Like I could just go read. I mean, it's hard to now because now it's getting to be like fucking 90 degrees and it's like my clothes stick to my body like slime and that just makes me really uncomfortable and makes me not want to do anything. Like right now
Yeah,
it's like 80 feels like 90 and I'm just like dying in my seat right now because my air conditioner hasn't been set up yet.
goodness.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
Good.
I have to go up to the attic though and I don't want to fucking fall down the stairs to get it.
Well, don't fall down the stairs.
Hmm. Uh no, don't do that. Now I'm gonna fall down the stairs.
Don't do it.
But you put that up.
I did.
Uh,
It's a dog that smiles. It's happy.
it
It
is
wants you to
so
be happy.
happy. It's so happy. It's just so
Thank
happy.
you. Thank you to everybody who has joined us on this auspicious occasion.
Yes, of course. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel. We really love it. We've been getting a lot more views lately, like proper uh
I know.
attention. It's been
So
pretty cool.
smash that like button and the subscribe button,
Yeah,
and there'll
like,
be more.
subscribe. There's a Patreon in the description you can go check out so you can get the videos early and also get your name in credits. We still have no Patreons yet, so there hasn't been any name in the credits, but you can be the first
We
one to
will
do
be
that.
putting your name.
You
You
can be
can
the
have
first one.
you will get first name credit. There will be like a big credit for you. Why not? Like, let's do
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
Goodbye, everyone.